You enter in a website and it just clicks with you. Then you enter in another website and, well, it didn't click anything with you. That connection or lack of it, it's not by accident. Every color, font and image in design is there for a reason. Unlike art, which is about personal expression, design has a clear purpose, guiding action, solving problems, and creating the right impression. If you're creating a website, app, or any digital product, knowing these principles can be a game changer. In this video, we'll simplify these principles so you can use them to make your designs instantly connect with your audience. Unity in design means making sure every element works together to create a cohesive whole. This principle helps you communicate a clear, unified message across your entire design. But achieving unity isn't always easy. We often dive into the details without considering how they fit into the big picture. If you don't start with the big picture, all your hard work might lead to a poor design. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you are planning a trip. You start by listing all the places you want to visit. It seems simple, right? But this is just the first step in your overall trip experience. If you don't consider how each destination fits into the entire journey, your trip plan might end up feeling disorganized and incomplete. When you look at the list of places to visit, it might seem perfectly fine. It lists the landmarks you want to see and it gets the job done, right? But let's think like a designer and dig a little deeper. This list is clear and includes famous spots, but it's missing one crucial element: organization. Without considering geography or travel logistics, you could end up zigzagging across Europe, wasting time and energy. Before setting your trip, it's essential to ask yourself a few questions. What is the purpose of this trip? How can I make the most of my time? What's the most efficient way to visit all these places? By organizing the itinerary based on geography and travel convenience, your list might look something like this. This approach ensures a smoother, more enjoyable experience. The same principle applies to design. By thinking about the overall purpose and organization from the start, you create a more unified and effective product. Organizing a travel itinerary is a lot like planning a UI design. When designing a new product, ask yourself, what problem does my product solve? Who is my target audience? What is the core message I want to convey? How can I structure my design elements to support this message? One of the best ways to achieve unity in design is by creating a brand style guide. This guide keeps everything consistent, from colors and fonts to logos and tones of voice. Take Starbucks for example. They use the detailed style guide to ensure their brand looks and feels the same everywhere. Your design's message should be clear and consistent, like a well-told story. Look at Cisco's homepage, for instance. It clearly communicates what they do and why it matters. Every part of the page, from the headlines to the visuals, reinforces their message, making sure their communication is unified and effective. Balance in design is about how visual elements are distributed to create a sense of stability. You can achieve balance through symmetry, where elements mirror each other, or asymmetry, where different elements balance each other out. Think about this way. In the physical world, a basketball and a bowling ball don't weigh the same, but in design, they can look balanced if they catch our attention equally. This is what we call visual weight, how much something stands out in a design, not because of its actual weight, but because of how it looks. Visual weight depends on factors like size, color, contrast, and density. Size: a larger object naturally draws more attention than a smaller one. Colors can make an element seem heavier or lighter. For example, a bright red square might feel more prominent than a yellow one. Contrast: the way the colors interact with their background can change how we perceive their weight. A red square on a dark background might feel less heavy than a yellow square on the same background. Density: even with identical size, color, and contrast, an element that appears denser, less white space around it, will feel heavier. These small adjustments can dramatically shift the balance of a design. When a design lacks balance, it creates visual tension. For example, if one side of a design feels heavier than the other, it makes us think something is off. But when visual weight is distributed evenly, the design feels balanced and pleasing. Our brains naturally prefer this harmony over tension, which is why balanced designs are generally more appealing. Balance in design typically revolves around an invisible axis, which can be vertical, horizontal, diagonal, or even multiple axes. Symmetry, like the mirroring seen in human faces or butterflies, creates a sense of grace, elegance, and formality. It gives a sense of security, and the user feels safe knowing the design has been well structured. However, too much symmetry can make a design feel static or boring. Asymmetry, found in nature, like in trees or rock formations, lacks perfect symmetry, but still achieves balance. This type of balance brings energy and movement to a design. For example, one side of the design can have a large element that is balanced by a couple of lesser elements compared to the other side. Then you have the unbalance, where elements are arranged in a pattern or repetition without one dominating. Pinterest's Mansory layout exemplifies this, where the seemingly chaotic vertical arrangement is balanced by consistent horizontal alignment, creating an organized yet dynamic grid. Hierarchy guides users from the most important to the least important parts of a page. It acts like a roadmap, helping users navigate your design easily. Hierarchy is shaped by other design principles like alignment, emphasis, proportion, and white space. User interfaces generally fall into two categories: text-heavy or visually engaging. While some designs balance both, most lean towards one type. Text-heavy interfaces focus on providing information like blogs, news articles, and stores. Visually engaging interfaces focuses on exploration like online games, home pages, or landing pages. We've been conditioned to read from left to right, top to bottom, and to skim content. This habit explains the F pattern, where users scan from the top left down, paying attention to what catches their eye. Typographic hierarchy helps readers find important information quickly. It's typically structured in levels. Heading level 1, the most dominant heading used for the page title. Like a book with one cover, a page should have only one main heading. Heading level 2 breaks content into sections, making it easier to navigate. Heading level 3 further divides section under heading level 2, adding clarity. Alignment: use center and right alignment sparingly, as readability decreases with longer text. White space: use less space between headings and body text to show they're related, and more space between sections to separate them. Line length: keep lines between 50 to 75 characters for better readability. Visually engaging content relies more on images, colors, and features to guide the eye. Layout and composition play a key role in creating hierarchy. The above the fold area, the part of the web page visible without scrolling, is prime real estate. It's where most users focus, so it's crucial to establish a clear hierarchy here. The hero section: this is the largest and most eye-catching part of the page. It often includes an image, a headline, body text, and a primary button, or a call to action. The hero section grabs the user's attention first and guides them towards the desired action. Then the main navigation. After the hero section, users typically look at the navigation, which includes the logo and links to main pages. Adding a call to action here can increase its visual importance. Additional content. Below the hero section, this area usually contains elements like logos, company values, or testimonials to build trust and encourage further exploration. Next up, emphasis. Emphasis highlights the importance of certain elements, making sure users know where to look first. When a design has only a few elements, it's easy for users to understand the message. But as more elements are added, it can become harder to know where to focus, which can disrupt the hierarchy and cause confusion. If everything on a page looks equally important, it's difficult to figure out what matters most. This lack of clarity can lead to a poor user experience, because it takes longer for the brain to process the design and understand its purpose. Let's break down an example to see how emphasis can improve a design. Primary focus. On an e-commerce product page, the product image should be the most emphasized element. It's the first thing users should notice because it's what they are trying to see. Secondary focus. The product name and price come next. These provide essential information that users need to make decisions. Tertiary focus. The Add to Cart button should stand out, but not as much as the product image or name. It's important, but users will interact with it after considering the product. Supporting information. Details like product specifications or customer reviews should have slightly less emphasis. They're there for users to explore after they've absorbed the primary and secondary information. And least important, elements like related products or social media sharing buttons should be de-emphasized. They're useful, but they shouldn't distract from the main focus. By adjusting emphasis strategically, you can create a visual hierarchy that guides the user's eye through the design in the right order. Proportion in design is about creating an harmonious relationship between different elements, ensuring they work together as a cohesive whole. In UI design, proportional typically involves the scale of elements in relation to each other. To use proportion effectively, it's important to understand the differences between size, scale, and proportion. Size, the actual dimensions of an element, usually measured in pixels, points, or units, like EM or RAM. For example, a logo might be 75 pixels tall and to 175 pixel wide. Scale is the relative size of an element compared to its original size, often described in percentages or multiples. For example, an element can be scaled up or down from its original size. Proportion, the balanced relationship between elements of different sizes or scales. For example, if one element grows in size, the others should grow at the same rate to maintain proportion. You might wonder how proportion works in UI design, especially with different screen sizes and devices. The key is understanding that UIs often include a mix of static and fluid elements. Static elements, these maintain the same size no matter the screen size. Fluid elements, these adjust their size relative to their container. When static and fluid elements don't scale at the same rate, the design might seem unbalanced. However, since users typically use one device at a time, it's possible to maintain a sense of proportion in UI design, even if it doesn't look identical across all devices. Negative space refers to the empty areas around, inside, or between elements in a design. While it might not be the first thing you notice, great design wouldn't be possible without it. Mozart once said, "The music is not in the notes, but in the silence between." This perfectly captures the essence of negative space in design. Just like silence is essential in music, negative space is crucial for creating balance and clarity in design. Imagine trying to read a document without any space between letters, words, or lines of text. It will be nearly impossible. Negative space separates each word, organizes lines of text, and adds space between paragraphs, making it easy to read and understand. But negative space isn't just for text. It also applies to logos, buttons, and other UI elements. For example, the space around the logo is carefully planned to keep it clear and recognizable, especially when resized. Similarly, the space between UI elements can show relationships or distinctions depending on how much space is used. Designers often call negative space breathing room or white space, but it also has technical terms like padding, margin, kerning, tracking, and leading. So why is negative space so important? It improves focus. More negative space means fewer distractions, helping users focus on what matters most. Enhances comprehension. So studies show that using negative space like margins and spacing between paragraphs can increase comprehension by up to 20%. It creates balance. Adjusting the negative space around elements with different visual weights can create a balanced design, even in asymmetrical layouts. It communicates distraction. Large amounts of negative space can separate elements, showing they are distinct. Indicates relationships. Smaller amounts of negative space can group elements, showing they are related. And promotes rhythm. Just like rhythm in music, consistent spacing in design helps users navigate and understand your UI, creating a smooth and comfortable experience. Repetition is found everywhere, from the colors and fonts we use to the shapes and structures we repeat across our layout. It helps to create a visual flow, guiding the user's eye through the design, in a clear and comforting way. It creates consistency by repeating elements like colors, fonts, and icons throughout your design. Helps maintain consistency, which is crucial for a good user experience. When users see the same elements used consistently, they know what to expect, reducing confusion and making the design easier to navigate. It reinforces branding by consistently using the same logos, colors, and typography. You strengthen your brand identity and make your design instantly recognizable. It builds unity. Repetition ties different parts of your design together, creating a unified look and feel. It ensures that all elements are seen as part of a cohesive whole rather than disjointed pieces. Enhances comprehension. Just as repeating a message in a presentation helps people remember it, repetition in design reinforces important content, making it easier for users to understand and retain information. And it guides the user's eye. It creates a visual path for users to follow, leading their eyes from one part of the design to another. This helps organize content and guide users through your design in a logical order. While repetition is a powerful tool in design, it's important not to confuse it with redundancy. Repetition should enhance the design by reinforcing key elements, while redundancy can overwhelm users with unnecessary duplication. For example, using the same button style across a website is beneficial because it helps users identify clickable elements. However, placing multiple identical buttons with the same function on a single page can confuse users and clutter the design. Contrast is the difference between two or more elements in a design, making them stand out from each other. It's a fundamental principle that enhances visibility, creates emphasis, and guides users' attention throughout your design. It enhances readability. High contrast between text and background is essential for readability. For example, black text on a white background is much easier to read than gray text on a light gray background. It creates emphasis. It draws attention to key elements like a call to action button. By making certain elements stand out, you guide users toward the actions you want them to take. It establishes visual hierarchy. By using contrast, you can show which elements are most important and which are secondary, helping users navigate your design efficiently. Adds depth and dimension. It can make your design more dynamic and three-dimensional. This can be done through the use of light and shadow, as well as varying sizes and colors. It improves accessibility. Sufficient contrast is crucial for users with visual impairments. Ensuring enough contrast between elements makes your design more inclusive and accessible to everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you found something valuable today that you can apply to your designs. If this video helped you, I'd really appreciate if you could hit the like button. It lets me know if I'm on the right track and helps other designers find this content too. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.